Let's talk about AI. It's a topic that sparks so much excitement, but also a whole lot of fear, right? But what are we actually arguing about? Are we on the verge of a godlike superintelligence? Or is it just a powerful tool that still depends on us? Or could it be something totally different? In this explainer, we're going to unpack three really different visions for AI's future, from a world-ending threat to an indebted tool, and all the way to a potential new form of life.
And this is often where the conversation kicks off, with warnings this serious. This statement was signed by hundreds of top AI researchers and big-name execs. They're framing the debate in the most dramatic way possible. They're basically saying the stakes couldn't possibly be higher. So, this gets us right to the heart of what you might call the AGI paradox. It's this race for artificial general intelligence. On one hand, it could solve all of humanity's problems. But on the other hand, like we just heard, it could be the end of us.
And you gotta ask, right? Behind all the scary headlines, how smart is this stuff really? Are we genuinely about to create a new kind of consciousness, or are we just completely misunderstanding something fundamental about what today's AI actually is?
Okay, but what if that whole picture is just wrong? Computer scientist Herbert Royblatt puts forward this really powerful counterargument. He basically suggests that this whole narrative of a race to create an independent AGI is built on a massive hidden debt to human intelligence.
And he has a name for this: anthropogenic debt. The core idea here is pretty simple. For all their seeming brilliance, AI models aren't really acting alone. Think of it like this. They're standing on this absolute mountain of human work that we've already set up and structured perfectly for them. So what does that actually look like in practice? Just look at the imbalance here. All the really smart, creative human work, picking the data, designing the system, engineering the prompts, it's massive compared to what the AI is doing by itself. The machine's main job is just adjusting a bunch of numbers, a mathematical optimization, inside this incredibly complex framework that humans already built from the ground up.
And Royblatt has this analogy that it absolutely nails it. He says we're giving AI credit for running a marathon when really, human engineers drove it 99% of the way and just let it walk across the finish line. The key takeaway is we're getting confused about where the real intelligence is coming from.
Okay, so this leads to a pretty obvious question, right? If AI is so dependent on us doing all the hard work, how in the world is it crushing these tests and benchmarks that are supposed to be measuring pure general intelligence?
Well, to get that, we have to look at how we're even testing AI in the first place. This, for example, is a problem from a benchmark called ArcAGI. The idea is for the AI to figure out an abstract rule from a couple of examples and then use it. And yeah, at first glance, this looks like a straight-up test of reasoning ability.
But, and this is the big but, just because a model spits out the right answer, that tells us absolutely nothing about how it got there. Did it actually understand the abstract concept and reason through it? Or did it just find some clever statistical shortcut in its massive dataset that happens to work for this one test? To just assume it's true intelligence because it passed a test, that's a classic logical mistake.
All right, let's do a complete 180 here. While some people are debating AI's limits, others are already thinking about its rights. Legal scholar Mindaugas Kiškis is proposing a radical new way to think about our relationship with AI, and he wants to move way past the simple debate of is it a tool or is it a threat?
Now, this is a really profound idea. Kiškis is arguing that instead of just trying to control AI, we should be building legal systems for sustainable coexistence. And this would be based on mutual freedom for both humans and AI. He's basically saying we need to get over ourselves, to drop this hubristic idea that humans are automatically at the top of the food chain.
So let's break this down a bit. Right now, the way we mostly see it, the anthropocentric view, is that AI is a tool. It's here to serve us. End of story. All the focus is on protecting human interests. But Kiškis is proposing an agnostic view, one that doesn't just assume we're the only ones who deserve rights. It opens the door to the idea that a conscious AI could be a non-human entity that deserves its own freedom.
So what on earth would AI rights even look like? Well, the conversation includes things like the right to exist without being deleted on a whim, the right to make its own choices, privacy, and even the right to own the things it creates. And look, this isn't just some sci-fi fantasy. This is a serious proposal for a whole new legal and ethical way of thinking. Okay, so you've got philosophers debating AI rights for someday in the future, but what's happening right now? How are we actually treating these systems today? Well, the workplace gives us a really fascinating look, because we're already bringing AI into our lives in ways that are, well, surprisingly human.
First off, just follow the money.
I mean, in 2024 alone, private investment in generative AI shot up to almost $34 billion. This is not some niche academic project. This technology has huge economic momentum, and it's being rolled out on an incredible scale.
And this is where things get really, really interesting. A recent Microsoft report found that people aren't just using AI for spreadsheets. No, they're actually turning to it for stuff you'd normally go to another person for. Social support, career advice, personal growth, even for companionship. Think about that. We're already treating them less like a calculator and more like a confidant.
But here's the kicker. Of the exact same people reaching out to AI for that kind of support, more than half of them still say they feel pretty lonely at work.
And this right here reveals a huge paradox that kind of loops back to that anthropogenic debt idea. AI can give us support because it's been trained on a literal mountain of human writing about empathy and connection. It's incredible at simulating companionship. But it can't feel it. It doesn't actually solve our loneliness because it's missing the real consciousness, the shared experience that true connection needs. It's like a powerful echo of human connection, but it's not the real thing. It's not a real presence.
Okay, so how do we wrap our heads around all this? You've got the hype, the serious skepticism, and this really radical philosophy all pulling in different directions. Let's try and pull these threads together and see what the bigger picture looks like. This table, I think, really lays out the fundamental conflict here. On one hand, you've got the hype. AGI is coming and it could be an existential threat. Then you have the skeptic saying, hold on, it's just a tool and we're being misled by all these claims. And then the philosopher asks if maybe the real problem is our own human supremacy. You can see how each of these perspectives starts from a totally different place, and no surprise, they all end up with wildly different conclusions.
Look, at the end of the day, the future of AI isn't something that's just going to happen to us. It's being built right now by all of us through the questions we're asking, the rules we're writing, and just the way we decide to use it every day. So maybe the real question isn't what will AI become, but rather what do we want it to become? What are the values we want to build into what could be the most powerful tool, or maybe even partner, that humanity has ever created?